Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Craig Adkins. I'm here with a brief introductory statement and a welcome to the healthcare finance class. I've had some students contact me that are getting offers for jobs. And what the big question is, what is the big difference between a W-2 and a 1099? Basically, these two concepts are really just the forms that whoever employs you reports your income that they pay you to the IRS. So if you are an employee, you get your income reported to the IRS as a W-2. If you are a self-employed independent contractor, you will get a 1099 miscellaneous form that reports your income to the IRS. Sometimes the 1099, they will withhold some taxes. Usually they do not. With a W-2, they will withhold whatever federal, state, and local taxes. The real question that I'm being asked is when we compare apples to apples on W-2 versus 1099, and I'm talking about income, is a X amount of dollars equivalent to X amount of dollars as a 1099? Is X, if I make $100,000 as a W-2, how much money do I need to make to have a comparable job as a 1099? And the down and dirty of this is basically it's 30% more. So if you make $100,000 as a W-2, you need to make $130,000 to pay for the benefits that you will have by being an employee, that you lose out by not being employed. And it scales incrementally. So if you don't want to hear anything else, that's the down and dirty of it. If you're looking at two jobs comparing and you just want to talk about income, for the income to be equal, you're going to need about 30% more in a 1099 than you will need as a W-2. So on the second slide, I know I make a pretty bold statement in the previous slide that basically you need 30% more income than your W-2 salary to pay for your expenses as a 1099 independent contractor. So this slide is very busy, but I'm trying to provide that documentation for you so you can see it with your own eyes. On the far left column, I have a list of employer obligations that if you are a W-2, your employer is obligated to provide for you. These are not given to you if you're a 1099. Occasionally you may have federal taxes withheld as a 1099, but typically you do not. The fourth column is the cost, and I'm trying to break that down so you can see that. And the last column is trying to add all those numbers together to give you what you would need as a 1099 to accommodate a $208,000 W-2 salary. So the first row is your employer withholds federal, state, and local taxes. I know in Texas there are no state taxes, so that is not withheld, but there are other states, Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, California, that does have state and local taxes, which they withheld. Now, you at the $200,000 mark are going to be within the 25 to 30%, maybe as low as 20% federal income tax, depending on how much deductions you have that will come off the top of that salary. Also, your employer will withhold Social Security tax. 12.4% of that is Social Security. The other 2.9% is a Medicare tax. And right now, I think that goes up to $178,000. I'd have to check on it, but I think that's about where the top end of the withholding is. Eventually, they're going to remove a top end on that, so you will always be paying Social Security and Medicare tax on all your money. But anyhow, as an employer, the employer withholds half the Social Security tax as your payment, and they also pay half as their payment for Social Security. As a 1099, you are your own employer, so you have to pay both sides of the Social Security tax, which comes up to be almost $7,600 extra that you're going to have to pay because you don't get that benefit of being an employee. Most of the time as well, you will get some paid time off, and it usually minimum is 4 weeks. I've seen as many as 12 weeks. It just depends on how generous and what the income is. And so I took an average of 4 weeks here, and the W-2 salary that I put on top is $208,000. That's $4,000 a week. So it made the math easy for me. So therefore, if you took 4 weeks off, you may get them paid as an employee, but you would have to earn another $16,000 to pay for those 4 weeks off, because when you're 1099 and you're not working, you don't get paid. Another benefit of being an employee is that you will typically get some tuition paid. This may not be a lot. It may be. It varies from employer to employer. I say the average is $3,000 to $5,000 a year, and took $3,000 to add into our 1099 income for this scenario. Again, as an employer, you're obligated to provide some sort of health benefits to your employee. Oftentimes they'll include disability, dental, and as an aside, if you're employed by a large group, they will typically pick up your malpractice insurance for you. Now, if you moonlight away from that group, you will also have to pick up a separate malpractice group if they allow you to do that. They may not allow you to take to practice outside of the group. Every place is a little bit different. Anyhow, your health, dental, and disability insurance typically will run you anywhere from, it may be 100% free, but it may run you up to $1,000 or $1,200 a month. So I assume kind of the middle ground. I know that disability, individual disability, will run you about $200 a month. And health insurance, it's been a while since I've shopped for it, but I'm thinking you can get individual with some of the different groups out there, about $500 a month, so $6,000 a year for health insurance. And I do know this, that malpractice in Texas runs $4,500 a year. So those health insurance and those health benefits there and the malpractice benefits all come to about $13,000, I'm sorry, in benefits that you get by being an employee that you're going to have to pay for yourself. Another huge benefit as a W-2 is you often get some retirement benefits or profit sharing, and this will run anywhere from none. A few of the groups won't pay anything, and I've seen it as high as 13% profit matching, which is huge because you can put another 13% in and you're getting 25% of your income put away in retirement. That is just monster. But I took a middle of the road here. I grabbed 5%. So assuming that you basically, that would be roughly $10,000, just a touch more. But I rounded off 10,000 to make my math easy. And that means you would get another $10,000 from your employer. So you're going to have to put $20,000 in there to match that $10,000 contribution that you would give as an employee. The last non-income benefit that you get as an employer is that you have some employment rights for wrongful discharge. They just can't fire you as a W-2 just because they want to get rid of you. But they can as a 1099. Most 1099 contracts have a termination clause in there, and we'll talk about that in class, about have the right clauses and to protect yourself so that you can't be just discharged at the whim of whoever wants to have you as an independent contractor. And so those are a couple intangible benefits that you can't really put a price on. So you add all this up, and again, it depends on how many weeks vacation, how much your health care is going to cost, but I came up with about a $57,000, $57,000 worth of benefits that were provided by this W-2 employee salary. You can see with that you're going to have to make about $265 in order to pay for all those benefits as an independent contractor, and that is roughly 30% higher than your W-2 salary. And it can be more. Some people if you have 10 weeks off, you're going to have to even have a higher income to pay for that. So those are just kind of some rough guidelines. And then I'll have one more slide here for you. As in many things, the devil is always in the detail. You may be hired as a 1099, but the IRS could come in and determine that you're really not a 1099, you're a W-2 employee. And how does the IRS make those sort of determinations? Basically, they determine how much control over what you do your employer has. Do they control when you work, how long you work, what days you work, how they're going to pay you, many other aspects of the job? Do they provide all the tools that you use? Is it the only place you work? As an independent contractor, typically you have more than one contract. You get to define what days you work, what days you don't work, and you can negotiate how you are paid. Typically, you will provide your own tools as well. Oftentimes, you'll have the anesthesia machine that's provided by the facility, but that's not necessarily your employer. So there is a risk here just because some company or group wants to hire you as a 1099 doesn't mean that you're a 1099, but they need to be vigilant in how they hire you, because the IRS could come in and say, oh no, you're not a 1099, and the company that hired you would owe the IRS back taxes, and they may even owe you some tax refund because you've paid taxes that you didn't owe. And this is a lot of times because the income from a 1099 is more than a W-2. Oftentimes employers will come in and give you a lowball 1099 salary. So say you're looking at the $208,000 job on the previous slide, and they'll say, oh, we'll give you $230,000. That'd be the same thing, but it's really not. You need the extra money to pay for the benefits that by not being part of the group process that the W-2 folks were. So I hope this answers some questions. If you have any concerns about any contracts or anything, we will delve into that in the class. Dr. Schaefer and I are more than happy to answer any questions. We have all written contracts with employees, with employers, with insurance companies, and the like. So if we can be of any assistance, feel free to contact us, and we will start the class real soon and get everything up and running. Have a good day.